सर
हाँ ये सिस्टम फॉर्मेट में आती है अभी उसी का काम चालू है ना तो उसको बता ये वाला भी करा सकते हैं ये तीनों जगह चले हैं ना उसकी जगह तो अच्छा टैंक की जगह पे ये हो जाता है फिर स्क्रिप्ट बढ़ेगी ऐसा नहीं
मैं भी आपको आज तक ही बोल सकती हूँ, कल से मैं नहीं कैसा हुआ कल का?
बढ़िया हुआ, गेस्ट ज्वाइन हुए हैं। मैं मीटिंग स्टार्ट कर रहा हूँ कि जाए क्यों नहीं रहा है मैसेज। हे दरवाज़ा ओढ़ करो। Very good morning, sir.
Hey, morning, Amit.
Yeah. We hope we have been joined with the 50 plus participant. We are ready to go, sir.
Okay. So maybe we'll wait for a minute and we will start.
Yeah, no issue, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. So how is everything today?
Fine, sir.
So I'll start, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Amit, I will start, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So we did go through the very basics of communication methods. Then illustrations based on
Amit, appeal to all participants to mute their phones. Amit, sir.
Yes, sir. We have done it.
Uh,
Manju madam
uh,
was there.
yeah.
Okay. So Amit, I'll proceed, huh?
Sure, sir.
Okay. So yesterday we did go through very basics of optimization concepts, then illustrations regarding how to mathematically formulate very simple problems, maybe one variable, two variable. One problem was with one variable, which was designing a box of maximum volume that was only one variable. Then second was designing or formulating a problem for a can which had two variables, diameter and height. Then we went through the concepts of stationary points, that is the points of zero gradient, that is either maximization point or minimization points, but then how to confirm them using second order derivative. And then we did go through little concepts of what we can say continuous variable problem, discrete variable problem, as well as a little gazing through the graphical optimization problem. However, I mentioned yesterday that as the problem complexity grow, the deterministic methods or the regular methods may not perform well as compared to the approximation methods. That is one thing. Second thing is that as the number of variables increase, then the regular methods or the traditional methods may not perform well. That is another thing. Second is that if the problem becomes non-convex, then for a couple of variables the traditional algorithms may perform very well. However, if we consider the The problems which are non-convex and more number of variables, maybe more than 5, more than 10, then we have to devise or we have to come up with something which are non-traditional methods, or we can say more sophisticated methods, or we can even give a terminology that these methods could be considered as something which are inspired from human thinking, or thinking of the living beings. So not necessarily that only is human, but anyway we are part of nature. But then there are several animals which do wonders. Maybe if you consider one ant, then one ant may not be able to do much, but then ants together they do wonders. There are lots of videos on ant homes and colonies. You can see that they created the huge cities below the ground, and those cities have kind of expression points. They have highways. In fact, two colonies are connected with one another, and likewise, several colonies are connected with one another through to hundreds of thousands of kilometers also, because they exchange they exchange information. Similarly, plants are there which exchange information through fungal connection through the roots. That is why we can see the jungles keep growing. Similarly, if we consider the intelligence of the Amazon forest, is that the forest works. I mean, the roots of the. I can say that the soil quality of the Amazon forest in Brazil is not as good as the Indian one. However, how they grew is through the symbiosis between plant and the bacteria which live on the roots as well as on the trees. And then because the plant gives shelter to them, and they give the nutritions to the plants. Okay, that is the way it works. As well as they have lots of connection between them through the roots, which are basically, we can say that the connections are nothing but the exchange of fungus, exchange of nutritions between them. That is why there was a experiment done long back, I believe around 20 or 15 years back. Some of the Brazil forest was cut down, and they started growing the farms over there. But the farms did not work. It's because the soil quality was so bad that the new farms, new what we can say, maybe cotton or maybe wheat, it did not grow well. Is because the soil quality was not that great. But entire information or entire what we can call it as a ecosystem was based on the symbiosis between or the natural algorithm between the plants as well as the bacteria. Anyway, this is the kind of plant intelligence that exists. So I can tell you that nature has come up with so many kind of intelligence everywhere. At every phenomena there is intelligence. Every phenomena. Now, if we consider the plants, is the intelligence or the AI algorithm for plants is not that much developed so far. So, if anybody is interested, they can look into that side. Even I'm also working on that side, but I don't find time actually. But then, so far, bio-inspired swarm intelligence and physics or chemistry phenomena-based systems. This is kind of overview of the classification of the nature inspired algorithms, because biologically inspired, swarm and physics all are part of nature. Even though physics and chemistry, we consider that this is a kind of we are the ones who innovated it, but we are the ones who just found it. It was already existing. So simulated earning, harmony search, and so many are some of the aspects, or we can say um, some of the phenomena that people have developed and understood and come up with certain algorithms. There are some of the algorithms which are based on swarm. Swarm means in Marathi or in Hindi we call it as a jhund. So as I mentioned, that one ant may not be able to do much, but then if we consider several ants, they do wonders. Even fireflies. During my early age of my lectureship, I worked on fireflies. The work really amazing. They are the ones who one firefly maybe kind of prey for others, but when there are so many fireflies, they can make the predator run away. There are other algorithms which are inspired from biological phenomena or biological evolution. I'll go through some of them right now, but then the major focus for today is for the evolution strategy, that is for evolutionary optimization method referred to as genetic algorithms. Okay, so algorithms are generally classified as I earlier mentioned, that they are exact methods or deterministic methods, and other are approximation based methods. Now, algorithms are generally considered as the jargon for computer science people or computer engineering people. But then, if we consider the basis behind it, then we can. I can assure you that algorithms are nothing but basically the methods which are or these are the algorithms which are basically the methodologies to solve a certain kind or certain kinds of problems. So exact methods and approximation methods are in new terms in the computer terminology terms, as they are iteratively solve the problem, reach from one solution to the next, which is better than the earlier, the next and the next. We refer in computer engineering terms, we refer this as algorithms. Okay, exact methods are those which are more deterministic. They follow a certain path to reach from one solution to the next solution, and generally they are suitable for convex problems as well as discrete problems, and they find the true optimum solution for that problem, true optimum. However, once these kind of algorithms they apply for solving non-convex problems with more number of variables, then they may not perform as good as the ones which the for the convex problems. So that is why we come up with approximation methods, and approximation methods are basically inspired from nature. Now, what is meant by approximation? Why they are better from, or why we prefer to them, or why I should prefer them over the exact methods, is that they perform well for the non-convex problems. That is one thing. Second thing is that they quickly reach to the close neighborhood of the true optimum solution. Quickly reach, because maybe Dr. Shastri will explain to you maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, or maybe I'll also come there, that how we solve the problem of healthcare, which for the exact method it took about exact method could solve the problem with the small size variable and small number of variables. However, as the number of variables keep increasing, exact methods performance degenerated. However, the approximation methods perform very well as compared to the exact methods. This is what we will explain there. We will demonstrate how it works, and we will show the proofs to you. We will provide the paper which I published based on that. So, as I mentioned, that artificial intelligence method, which are basically approximation based method, they are inspired from nature. But then there's one more terminology which also exists, is self-organizing systems. So nature inspired methods, most of them are self-organizing systems. So I'll explain to you what is meant by self-organizing later, today itself, or during the cohort intelligence, which Dr. Shastri will explain. In that also, you can see how the natural entities they organize themselves to a certain solution. Okay, so that they can kind of self-organizing to a certain solution, or to follow that certain solution. Okay, so if we see the on the right hand side, and there are two GIFs. They are basically for the swarm optimization. Okay, and the left hand side is also swarm optimization, but the right hand side we call it as a particle swarm optimization, which Dr. Shastri will take tomorrow. So particle swarm optimization is inspired from the intelligence of the swarm of fish. Okay, I believe if you have watched the Discovery Channel or even National Geographic, or even YouTube and all, you can find such kind of swarm. Why they organize themselves to do certain tasks. Okay, one little fish may be a prey for many, but then a swarm of fish may find a prey for them as well as they can protect themselves. Okay, So you can see that in the top one, you can see that the fish which are in on the inner side of the periphery, they understand that there is a predator inside. However, for those which are at the outside periphery, they may not even know that there is a predator, but they know there is some threat inside. How do they know that? It's because they got the information transferred or scattered to the uh, entire swarm. Okay, so however, this is the case for making the predator run away from it, but then you can see that they are
मला तर नाही दिसत
finding the best possible solution to quickly
बंद आहे
uh,
त्यांचे.
make the predator run away from them.
हो
So
मध्ये आहे ना.
in this case, basically they actually look for the global solution as well as the local solution. I may not be able to explain this right now, but in optimization terms, Dr. Shastri will explain to you tomorrow. Now, this the top right one is basically for the predator to run away, but then at the below you can see that this is the one which is for catching the prey. So the swarm can protect themselves as well as they can have food for themselves. Okay, so this is one aspect which is basically particle swarm optimization, which will be explained to you tomorrow in conceptual form as well as in the mathematical form as well as the illustration form. Another thing is that ant colony optimization. We have ants everywhere, maybe in our home, outside our gardens, and everywhere you can see the ants. But they are the smartest creatures I have ever seen. You can see that maybe there is I mean, you can imagine that we have this room, okay, maybe 12 by 12, okay, and then at one corner we have a food source, and another corner we have the ant hill, or we can say the house of ants. In Marathi we call them warul, okay, and then the food source may be cubes of sugar, okay. After some times you may find that some of the ants, or maybe the entire ant colony, actually started, they find the food and then they organize themselves to a shortest path, okay, maybe to take the food to the ant hill. Okay, so how do they do that? It's because whenever every ant start foraging the food, foraging means searching for the food, okay, whenever it starts forage the food, it leaves pheromone. It's a chemical which the ant leaves and which evaporates with time. And importantly, the amount of pheromone which every ant leaves depends on how much food, what is the quantity of the food it found, as well as the quality of the food. And when it randomly starts searching the space, when it reaches to the food source, it finds it. When it starts going back, maybe following the same trail what she had, but then if she finds a heavily doped a trail, then she will start following it. Similarly for all also. So heavily doped path, it means that the path is being followed by many, and it is as the pheromone evaporates with time, and as the trail has more amount of pheromone, it means that there is more pheromone which has evaporated less, so it is the shortest path, and that way they keep following the shortest path. So that is why I can say that they organize themselves. They organize themselves to the shortest path of the in the search space. So in other words, if we are talking about the solving a problem of cost, okay, minimizing a cost, minimizing an objective function value, then this is the shortest path. Okay, this is the this entire scenario, or these ants start searching for the search space, and they find the shortest possible solution. And if we are talking about a maximization problem, we generally convert it into minimization by just adding the negative sign to it. So whatever problem we are solving, either it is a maximization or minimization, ant colony can solve those kind of problems. Yes, ant colony method is little bit computationally expensive if we start considering the problems which are continuous in nature. But for the discrete as well as combinatorial problems like path planning problems, similar to the traveling salesman problem, ant colony can do wonders. The particle swarm optimization problem is method is basically useful for the continuous types of problems. There are other algorithms which are quite famous, which I mentioned earlier. Fireflies, these are basically they are male and female both. and then based on the scenario around, they convert themselves to female and make male run behind them, and as well as on the other side. If they find the predator, they have the different signal, and then they organize the entire swarm to a different direction. If they find prey, they organize themselves to that direction. So prey is referred to as a possible solution, predator is referred to as we can say local solution or the worst solution. So that way, I mean, the Firefly algorithm is quite simple. You can find online. Is one of the very famous algorithms. I don't remember who invented it, but it is one of the very famous algorithms in past decade. I think Jinsei Yang or somebody who made it. Anyway, Dr. Mir Jalili, he came up with the Grey Wolf algorithm, in which I believe you might have seen these kind of photos regarding wolves catching the bulls on National Geographic and all. So what do they do? These wolves is basically a swarm. This is a swarm. One wolf cannot do much, but then swarm of the wolves can catch the prey. Even so, they smell the prey first. That is, they smell the in the neighborhood of the solutions, and then they encircle it. So it means that they start the local search. First, they do the exploration, then they do the local search, and then they keep doing local search, and then they find the solution. In natural scenario, they smell the possible solution, and then they encircle it, then they harass it, then they don't let the bull go anywhere, and then once the bull gets tired, they catch it, they kill it. Similarly, in the artificial intelligence scenario, what is how it is converted is that the wolves, they have different layers: alpha, gamma, beta, and all. So alpha guides the beta, beta is the one guides gamma, something like that, and then they basically search the space efficiently, and then once they find the better solution or the best possible solution, they start doing the local search, and then they find the best solution. Okay, so this is one of the quite popular algorithms. I believe it was first published in 2013 or 14, and then now it is being used in hybridization with several other algorithms as well. Artificial BAT algorithms, BAT, we know that it works on the sonar signals. So based on the sonar signal sent, and then to come back to the BAT again, it finds that whether the solution it is going towards is a local minimum, or it is a worse solution or better solution, a global minimum, and so on. So this is also, I believe, it was invented by Jin Yang long back in last decade. So these are the algorithms which I refer to as just latest algorithms, you can say, or maybe you can say that these are the face of the nature inspired algorithms, which are as I mentioned, ant colony, particle swarm, and then the Grey Wolf algorithm. Grey Wolf algorithm is comparatively quite new, but then I can say that ant colony as well as particle swarm optimization are more sophisticated these days, is because several people have worked on it, and they have come up with several versions of it. It is tested on several complex test problems, and it is proven to be working very well for several kinds of problems, including discrete, continuous, combinatorial, several real world problems, and so on. The algorithm that we are going to talk today is basically evolutionary algorithm. The evolutionary algorithm can be of different types, but then evolution happens at every stage of the, even for the swarm there is evolution, for biology there is evolution. However, genetic evolution is considered to be more sustainable. It is more studied in the clinical biology, clinical psychology, and there are several versions came so far for the evolutionary algorithms. There are several evolutionary algorithms, by the way, but then genetic algorithms is inspired from the biological evolution, which is more, as I mentioned, it is more sustainable, it is more proven, mathematically also, as well as we can see that we whatever we are today is somewhere we started from here. Our forefathers were here somewhere, and now we are here. Okay, and I can show something like this is just a representative representation of biological evolution, that maybe we started with a single cell. Okay, and then as the years passed, based on the our neighborhood, based on the local changes, based on the global changes, every cell it changed to a different it adapted to different scenario, and then some of them they become maybe human, some of them become ants, some of them become crocodiles, some of them become snakes, fish, and so many other things. But then what we are interested in is how this is mathematically converted, or how to solve our problem, the problems that we are looking for. So as I mentioned that we as a biologically we evolved from this to this. Okay, this is what we think today. This is what we think. However, I can tell you that even not only we or the, the 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 entities around us evolved from um, uh, a simple phone. I believe some of you might have used such kind of phone, or maybe those which are with the dial and all. But then now we started with this, and now we reached to this. So not only we are evolving, I mean biologically, but I can tell you that we are evolving the things around us also. Now, we think that we are from here to here, but what Japanese people think is that they will be giving birth to robots. They'll be giving birth to maybe cybernetic. Okay, I'll come to that. What is meant by cybernetic in after a while. But I can tell you that adaptation and evolution they go hand in hand. It means that whatever we are today are something based on what our biological evolution, as well as we are the ones who adapted to the situation around us. Okay, now I can show that this owl. Okay, this owl is different than the owl that we see in India. Okay, why is because this owl, I believe this is from UK. It adapted to the situation, or to the neighborhood around, so that it can hide, to stay away from predators, as well as to catch the prey. Okay, and another thing is that to reproduce the infants and take the generation ahead. So this is what is evolution. So adaptation and evolution go hand in hand. Another thing is that if you see the camel has a feet which is larger. Okay, but larger with the area. So why it is like that? Because it has adapted to stay or to live in the desert, where because if we start walking in desert, we will be tired very soon. You try nearby somewhere in the sands, and you'll find that you'll get tired faster. But then camels can run for thousands of kilometers without even drinking water. How it can do that? Because it has a bag of water, and that bag is actually around 1 meter um, up from the ground. So the less evaporation, it can run faster, it can store the water, and so many other things. Okay, so this is a kind of what I can say is something quite amazing natural phenomena. But then how we are using it for our mathematical purpose, and how we are solving our problems that comes is something which is more interesting to see. See, this is I don't know, this is a lizard or something, and then uh, it adapted to scenario around, and we may not even notice that this is not a past leaf, but this is a kind of a lizard which is actually adapted to situation around, and taking the generation ahead, one after the other. Another thing is that around 300,000 years earlier, the Sahara Desert was actually lush green. Okay, then what happened was that slowly, over the period of around 3,000 years, because of the change of axis of the Earth, the entire forest, lush green forest, was converted to desert. Most of the plants they died, but some of the plants they adapted to the scenario, to the situation. Of course, it was not overnight. It happened quite slowly. Okay, so what happened was the plant converted itself as a tank of water. That is one thing. Second thing is that the breathing points or breathing sources are the leaves. They are the ones who take the moisture inside as well as give the moisture outside. So they converted those into thorns or spikes, you can say, and those ones for collecting the water at very early morning. That water goes inside and it's collected, and they are also used for protection. So you can see, you can go into desert and you will be able to find such kind of cactus over there. And those cactus are basically the result of evolution, because they sustain and then they found their own solution how to survive, how to go ahead. So they did not die, the solution did not die, but the solution survived and even flourished. Now, as I mentioned that we were here earlier, and now we are somewhere here. I can see here. Maybe would also like to have something like this. Okay, but then we were here earlier. We were here. Now we are here. But then I can. It is important to see that even though we are here, still we have apes. Still we have this maybe people living like stone age people. Why it has happened is because that's what I mentioned, that it is because of the adaptation. They have adapted to the scenario around, they have adapted to the scenario around. But then I will show some a video to you. I hope it will be useful in several ways, that how crows are becoming more smarter. We cannot say that the crows what we see around us are not smart enough, or we cannot call them as stupid, because some of the crows living in different environment, they have adapted themselves to a different scenario. Okay, and the crows which are living with us, they have adapted to us in some different way. For example, the crows nearby my place, and even the sparrows and all, I can throw some food to them, they eat and then they sleep and then they have a nice life. But then the crows living in more in the forest area, they are the ones who I can say that they are uh, they are living more tougher life as compared to the urban life. Okay, but then those who are living in the urban life in some different scenario, they have evolved in some different way. But then I'll show you something which is more important to see. I mean, that video is important to see. Just let me know if you can listen to the sound and all. If not, then I will rerun it. I hope you will be able to listen to this.
Highly skilled.
Amit, can you listen
Yes,
to
sir.
this?
We are able to hear.
In this Japanese city,
I'll just run once again.
crows have become highly skilled at making a living in these new urban environments. In this Japanese city, they have devised a way of eating a food that normally they can't manage. Dropping a nut from a great height onto a hard road does sometimes crack it, but some nuts are particularly tough. So the crows have devised a better way. Drop it among the traffic. The problem now is collecting the bits without getting run over. So some birds have refined their technique. They station themselves beside pedestrian crossings. wait for the lights to stop the traffic. Then collect your cracked nut in safety.
Okay, so you might have seen that how these crows have evolved themselves to be to get adapted to the situation around and get the best out of it. Okay, so you may see that this particular crow is smarter than the crows nearby me or me just around, is because they are adapted to the situation around. Okay, why I'm trying to tell you is that the genetic algorithms is all about adaptation and evolution. Okay, I'll come to that mathematical part later. Some of the part is metaphorical, some of the part is true representation of the actual natural intelligence. Okay. Yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention that this is I hope you have seen this movie, Terminator. Okay, we call this as a cybernetic. Okay, the Sophia is also a cybernetic. It means that it is it's a machine which thinks, behaves like human, but it is about to get the human emotions also. So I believe this movie, I mean, Arnold didn't had emotions, but it starts developing the emotions. Okay, so this is something like cybernetics, machines that behave like humans, but about to get the emotions. That's what is cybernetic all about. Anyway, so just to give a little history about Darwin's theory. Darwin was one of the scientists who come up with it's his famous book, which is Theory of Evolution, Survival of the Fittest, and I don't remember the book name right now, but then he's the one who come up with the understanding of the natural intelligence or adaptation, how every creature adapts to a certain scenario, and some of the other creatures they adapt to the certain other scenario. For example, I'll give you one example of the Galapagos in the South Pacific Sea, near Brazil and near on the south side of the US, is that they have thousands of Galapagos. Galapagos means it's little islands. Okay, every island is around 50, 20, 30, 40 kilometers away from one another. But the creatures on every island are totally different than the others. Okay, maybe it's a turtle only, but the turtle on one island is different than the turtle on the other island because they did not need to go from one island to the other island. It was not required. Okay, so some of the islands they have the turtles living for 100 years. Some of the islands they have turtle living for 20, 30 years only. That is another thing. So which I would like to tell you is that there are some islands which have only birds. Okay, and generally the birds, we generally consider that birds they fly. Okay, but then the birds over there, they do not have any predator for them. There are no snakes, there are no big size birds over there, there are only small size birds. So they have the food as the fruits as well as little insects. Okay, so what happens is that as there is no predator, they do not need to fly, and now for past over hundreds of, even few hundreds of years, they stopped flying. They don't learn flying. Okay, even the countries like Singapore and all, where I was doing my PhD, we had a few birds roaming around in our canteen, and there is strict law that you cannot touch a bird. Okay, so it means that you cannot harm the bird also. Of course, the bird is not good, but then nobody can even touch them. So birds can now walk in the canteen. You know, they walk everywhere. They're not scared anymore. Okay, so this is the kind of adaptation. Anyway, I'll show you one more video, and then we will move towards the mathematical formulation of the genetic algorithms. So this is the video by I just downloaded from YouTube. It is on how Darwin studied around the world. There are two videos, but I'll show you only one for now, and then how he uh, how he traveled all around the world and how he understood the theory of adaptation and evolution.
The Galapagos Islands. Young English naturalist Charles Darwin collects animal and plant specimens for study. His observations on these islands will be fundamental in formulating his theories, which many years later will be published in his great work on the origin of species. A revolutionary book that changed the way biology was understood, giving rise to new scientific theories. In this book, Darwin laid down the scientific principle that each species had not always been the way we know it today. Rather, each one had changed and altered over time. Three concepts are important for understanding Charles Darwin's theories: natural selection, evolution, and the origin of species. In animals and plants, random trait mutations and modifications can appear. For example, a moth that is born a different color than its parents. Imagine that this mutation improves an animal's ability to survive in its environment. Animals with this favorable trait would be better adapted to where they live and have a better chance to feed themselves and to reproduce than other animals of the same species without that trait. The offspring of parents with favorable characteristics will normally inherit those same characteristics. So, generation after generation, a trait that was rare occurs more frequently, becoming the norm within the species. This process is called natural selection. With the passing of time, these favorable mutations accumulate and species change, constantly adapting to an environment that never stops changing. Here's how the evolution of species takes place. Two groups of animals of the same species that adapt to two different environments over time can come to constitute different species. This way, a process as simple as natural selection helps us to understand the origin of species. Charles Darwin was one of the most important men of his era, and many consider him among the most influential scientists in history. His theories on the origin and evolution of species were very new for his time and are still studied and discussed to this day. Darwin died in 1882. His legacy changed the thinking of an era and opened the door to a new way of understanding science, the world, and the role humans play on this planet.
Okay. So we can see that the evolution has a meaning of survival for the survivability as well as for adaptability, and then reproduce for the further generations. And you can see that the further generations are better as compared to the earlier ones. Even we can see that ourselves are better than our parents in several sense, and we can see that our kids are getting smarter as compared to what we are. Okay, so this is what is all about evolution. Now, as I mentioned, that is all about adaptation and evolution. So that is why in Europe the adaptation is in different way, in America adaptation is different way, Japanese adaptation is different way, Indian adaptation is different way. Dr. John Holland was the one who first started, or who first converted the theory of adaptation by Darwin, a theory of evolution and adaptation for the in mathematical terms first time, and he referred this as, or he coined the term as, genetic algorithms. It means that he converted the DNA or the chromosomes of, or the exchange of chromosomes or the competition between the chromosomes of the individuals into mathematical terms. I was so fortunate to meet Dr. John Holland during my PhD. He came there for a lecture, and he first promised me to give me 2 minutes, but later on he gave me around more than 20 minutes, and I learned a lot from him. He's no more, I believe. He passed away about 6-8 years back, but then he was the one who was quite instrumental in giving a rise to the nature inspired algorithms, which we can see hundreds of algorithms today. But the first algorithm developed by was developed by John Holland. He was a professor at University of Michigan. Later on, he was with the University of New Mexico, and then he has several students who are driving the GA all over the world, and even people like me who learn little from them, and we keep working towards development of the new algorithms. So I'll show you now. I mean, what we discussed is through this video how the evolution done or how the survival done, but then moving towards the algorithm part of it. It means that we have seen the natural phenomena. Now we have to understand it in more metaphorical terms, and then towards the mathematical terms, and then solving the problem. Okay, so now I mean, we are moving towards more towards natural part, from natural part to the mathematical part. So in this case, we have 4 scenarios, or we can say 4 steps. Okay, one is inheritance, selection, crossover, and mutation. So inheritance is basically something which is initialization. Okay, something that they inherently exist. Okay, the properties. Then the selection, then the crossover, and the mutation. So basically, what happens is that we have a generation. Maybe we have a population in today's generation. Okay, or in the current generation, a population of solutions, and then those population of solutions are evaluated, how good they are, how fit they are. Okay, and then those population individuals are made to mate sexually with one another, and then we see that a new population comes which is hopefully better than the earlier population. Okay, it means that if we consider a problem, and then we have a population of solutions to that problem. Okay, several solutions to a certain problem. Like in the traveling salesman problem, we have a problem of a salesman traveling to 50 cities. Okay, then maybe we come up with a possible solutions of say only 500, and then those 500 solutions are basically make to some of them are made to meet with one another, and they give birth to a new or better individuals, better infants, or better solutions. And then we see that how we are moving from one level of population which is at this level, and then going to the better level, new population, and the next, and then the next, and all. Okay, so I'll explain how this basically work, how this entire initial generation of the population, then evaluating their fitness, finding some of them to get into meeting with others, and then getting the next generation, see how good they are. Some of them, they will die out because they are not as competent as to go ahead. Like in this video also, you might have seen that some of the individuals, they die out because they cannot adopt to, or they cannot compete with the so in today's society also, those who can do better, they have chances of survival of because they are more fit, they have more chances of survival, but otherwise they die out, or they go out of the competition. Okay, so this is all about that. Anyway, so this is what is the general structure of GA. I have shown this as a metaphorical terms, but this is the real one. Okay, now the steps are given here. First, initial population generation, fitness, selection, crossover, mutation, final generation. If the generation is as good as what we want, or are we satisfied with our solution, chunk of our solutions? If not, then go back Then again do the fitness evaluation, do the selection for the crossover, and then do the mutation, and then again evaluation and all this. Okay, so we'll see how this work. Suppose we have a population, okay, and we have one solution which has value 6, then 5, then 0 and 7. Okay, now as these are, because myself is just an individual, but my all whatever I am is in my genes, or it is in my chromosome. Okay, so we have converted 6 to chromosome, which is 110, 5 to convert it to 101, 0 as 000, 7 is 111. This step is referred to as the encoding of the solution. So this is the real solution. This is what we understand. But what computer understands is the chromosome, is the chromosomes. Okay, so and every individual or every count in the chromosome is referred to as a gene. So one is a gene. This one is also gene. This is 0 is also gene. But this is referred to as a chromosome. Okay, and now what we do is that we do the selection. Okay, because we can see you can have different fitness functions, but generally root mean square values, or maybe just the objective function value, or just the 7, 0, 5, 6 are, they can be considered as a fitness function. Okay, in my research and all, I just consider 6 the individual values as the fitness functions. This is what what I carry for my own research. So what we do is we do the selection. So you can see, as the problem is for maximization of these numbers, we keep maximizing the numbers. So what we do is we select the numbers from this. Okay, so as there's a mechanism referred to as a ranking mechanism. Okay, there's a mechanism referred to as a Jhulelal mechanism, by which we can select the strongest candidates. Okay, the strongest candidate here is 7. The second strongest is 6. The third strongest is 5, and the least strongest is 0. So you can see in the society also, the better ones, the strongest male and the strongest female, they come together and they give the birth to a better candidate. Okay, or to a better infant. So this is the way we follow here. So what we do is that we follow a mechanism by which the solution 7, then again solution 7, then solution 5 and solution 6 are selected for further reproduction, because this solution is the least fit solution, so it may not carry forward. It will die out. Okay, so 6, 5 and 7 are considered here for the mating. Now for mating, we consider these two, okay, and then these two. Now these two solutions, what is my mating is basically we model mating as crossover and mutation. Okay, so crossover means we exchange the genes, and we over here you can see that we exchange the genes, like this one goes here and this one goes here, this one goes there, and that way we find it's individuals, but they are the same, they produce the same. Okay, but in this case as 6 and 5, they meet together, they come up with, rather than 101 and 110, they come up with 100 and 111. Okay, which is supposed to be better than the earlier one. Is because generally once the two individuals come together as a sexual reproduction, the better parts are exchanged rather than the worst parts. Okay, that is why we can see that the society is evolving generation by generation. Now this 111 and 111, they are just here. We have the new solutions to be 100, however we do a mutation. Mutation is just a bit inversion, so maybe we consider just one solution. From that one solution, we just consider one gene and we just invert the bit. So rather than 0, we make it to 1. That's all, nothing different. Okay, so how it helps, you can see that in the natural phenomena, in the natural world also, we can see that parents and both the parents, the mother and father, both have certain types of characteristics. Those characteristics they come into their kids, their infants. But then sometimes infants are doing much better, or they have some different characteristics also. So these characteristics, they come through the mutation of their chromosome. Okay, so this is referred to as we do at bit inversion in the mutation aspect here at the chromosome level, at the gene level, and then this encoded bits are now converted into the real numbers. This is referred to as decoding. So here it was encoding and here it was decoding. Now this 111, this 111 is converted to real numbers as 77. This 101 is converted to 5. This 111 is converted to 7. So you can see that earlier population was 6507. Now the population comes to be 7757. Okay, so we can see that all the solutions are getting better. Now after that, maybe after a couple of generations, all of them, they become 777. Okay, and maybe something more like 888, and then there would be no change. It means that all of them, all the individuals are getting converged, or we can say that they are self-organized themselves to a best possible solution. Okay, so now just to wrap up what we have done, so that we will go towards the real problems that that I have solved, and I will show you how every problem is solved using GA. Okay, just to wrap up in a couple of minutes for this particular slide, is that we have a problem, or we have a population of 4. Population in size is 4. One individual value is 6, second is 5, third is 0, and another one is 7. Okay, now this 6 is encoded to the gene level as 110, 5 is 101, 0 is 000, 7 is 111. Okay, now we carry certain selection mechanism, which may be a ranking mechanism, which may be a Jhulelal mechanism, by which we selected some of them, 4 of them, to 111, 111, 101, 110. Okay, and then we do the crossover. Crossover is done in quite different way. It is possible in quite different way. However, we do the crossover of just 1 bits, and then you can see that the solution after crossover and mutation is improved to 7757. So again, just we have a initial population, we encode it to the chromosome or gene level, we did the selection. This is the selection process. Then we do the crossover and mutation, and then we decoded it back to the real world solution. That's all. Okay, so this way, now I'm showing a very simple case over here. If you see the real world cases, they are or real world problems which are much complex in nature, and they are more what we can call them as more challenging. And I can tell you that GA is one of the methods which is quite versatile, quite fruitful so far. However, it works very well for discrete and combinatorial problems than the continuous problems. For continuous problem, it works well, but then not as good as particle swarm optimization and maybe some other methods. Okay. Now I'll show you a couple of problems here. Okay. Now so far I hope this Word document is clear to you. It can be seen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the confirmation, Amit. So we just consider one problem. Okay, very simple problem, which is f of x equal to x square, which has to be maximized. Okay, so it is only one variable problem. However, the x values have to be chosen from within 0 to 31 interval only. Okay. Anyway, I will email you all the slides and all this later by today, because tomorrow Dr. Shastri will take over for particle swarm and all. So now we have to generate initial population. Okay, so initial population of the variable values is 13, 24, 8, and 19. All these values are chosen from within 0 to 31. Okay, so all are legal values. In earlier case, in the GA, as I mentioned, we have to encode it to the chromosomes. Okay, so we encoded this to now 13 is encoded to 01101, 24 to 11000, and so on. For 8 and for 19, we have encoded it. Now we are working at the chromosome level. However, what we did is that For all these values, I have come up with a fitness function. Okay, the fitness function, for the very simplicity, I have considered the objective function only. So 13 square is 169, 24 square is 576, 8 square is 64, and 19 square is 361. Okay, so this is the fitness function. Now you can see that for the selection, we have to find the probability. Now how we find probability is, we take the sum of all these, which is 1170. The average of value of all these is 293, and the maximum of all this is 576. So we find that this is the full sum, which is 169 divided by 1170 comes to be 0.14. 576 divided by 1170, that comes to be 0.49. 64 divided by 1, that comes to be 0.06. 361 divided by 1170, that comes to be 0.31. If we sum all of them, that comes to be 1. Okay, the average probability over here is 0.25, and the maximum probability is 0.49. Okay, so this way we have initialized the problem now, in which we have first sample the values, variable values from within the sampling interval, and we have come up with our population generation. We have the fitness function, fitness values of all of them, which is nothing but the objective function value. We know which is better, which is not that great. I can see over here, even you also see that 24 is the best candidate. The second best is 19, third best is 13, and the worst is 8. Okay, out of the population of 4. Now moving towards next. Now this is something like which we can call as a generation or initialization. Now we come up with something like we refer to as a crossover and mutation. Now in the crossover, we consider that we will have 1 point crossover. So in this case, fourth point will be considered. After fourth point there will be crossover. Then for this we will have the crossover after second point. Okay, so this is what we consider. However, we consider that 0, 1, 1, 0, 1. So we sample the first one, then we sample the second one, then we sample the third, and then we sample the fourth. So we can give the equal chance to all of them. Okay. Well, once we did the crossover, you can see that we have inverted. So this 0 goes up and this 1 comes down. So this is what we have two values here. Okay. These two, we just inverted them, that all of these 0, 1, 1 go up and this 000 goes down. So we can see that earlier it was 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, which comes to be 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 000, that comes to be 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, and so on. Okay, so I can see that the values are from 13, 24, 8, and 19, which I have decoded from this to binary digits to the real numbers, which we decoded, that comes to be 12, 25, 27, and 16. If we find the fitness of all of them, that comes to be 144, 625, 729, and 256. The sum is 1754, which is better than the initial one. The maximum value, the average was earlier 293, that comes to be 439, and the maximum value, which was earlier 576, that comes to be 729. So here I can see that the solutions have evolved to something better. Okay, earlier it was the population was 13, 24, 8, and 19. Now the population comes to be 12, 25, 27, and 16. If you can see the probability, which we calculated based on the earlier calculation, which was similar to earlier calculation, 144 divided by 1754, that comes to be 0.08. 625 divided by 1754, that comes to be 0.35. 729 divided by 1754 comes to be 0.41, and 256 divided by 1754, that comes to be 0.14. So I can see that the probability is coming closer to one another. Earlier they were quite far from one another, and then now they are coming closer. You can see that the average is also decreasing. Okay. Moreover, the maximum probability earlier was 0.49. Now that comes to be 0.41. So they are also coming closer. If I start moving further, Okay, now this one just shown to you that we have done only the crossover, but how about mutation? So this population we just consider over here, okay, and we did mutation. Now I'll give you the importance of mutation in next couple of minutes. What I did was that just two of the individuals in the population, I have mutated their gene value. So this 0 was mutated or inverted to 1, and this 0 is also mutated or inverted to 1, and again did the fitness evaluation. So you can see earlier it was 12, 25, 27, 16. Now we have, rather than 12, we have 26. Okay, and earlier it was 16. Now it is 18. So there's a drastic change in the solution. So earlier it was the maximum. Earlier the maximum sum was 1754 before crossover. Before mutation. Now that comes to be 2354. Okay, the the average was 439. Average gone up, and the maximum remains the same. Even in the probability side also, you can see that this remains 0.24. However, the maximum starts reducing. So I can see that earlier the solutions was the variable values we chosen were 13, 24, 8 and 19. We have the fitness values as 169, 576, 64, 361. As we have the objective of maximizing the function, okay, we have done the crossover. We can see that the maximum value comes to be 625, and as an average it was 439. Average is supposed to be closer to the maximum value. Okay, later on, as we have done the mutation, the values still improved. Okay, and then we reach from.
Excuse me, Professor.
Oh yes.
Sir, how we have constructed that chromosome? Is it an attribute?
Which one? This one?
The first column, chromosome.
A chromosome, right? This one, right?
Yes, sir.
What is your question, by the way?
How we have constructed that chromosome?
Okay. This is basically converting the bits. So 13 real number is converted to the bit value. That's all. Yeah. So we haven't played with it. The computer itself will give you the answer.
Okay. And what about the 13 value?
Okay. I'll come to that. You are talking about these values?
Yeah.
Okay. See, in any of the algorithms, what we generally do at the beginning is that we do random sampling from within the allowable interval. Okay, so for this problem, f of x equal to x square, we can choose x values from within 0 to 31. So for this case, I have randomly chosen 4 values. Randomly, there is no logic behind it. Just randomly. Okay, so the random values are 13, 24, 8 and 19. That's all. Okay, so I haven't applied any kind of mechanism for it. It's just totally random. Okay, and is it okay? Did I satisfy your question for this x value?
Yes, sir, but how many value we have to consider it?
Okay, so you mean how? Now here I have considered 4, right? So it depends on the problem. 4 is a very less number, very less. This is for the evaluation. But then if we consider the same problem, then maybe we have to go with at least 100 population size, at least. And for more number of variables, we may have to consider. Generally, in my experiments and all, even many people we consider 500. Okay.
Fine.
Yeah. So this is just for the illustration purpose. If I start showing 100, then it may be difficult for all of us to understand, and for me also to explain to you. Okay. So it depends. However, for this problem, I believe 50 population is also okay. Anyway, so these 4 are randomly sampled from within 0 to 31. We converted to the bit level, okay, which is quite simple, just a little line of program. Then we converted to the chromosome level, which we refer to as encoding process, and then we just show that what is the value of x square for 13, then 24, then 8 and 19, as this. Okay, and then we found the probabilities of all these. Now, based on the selection mechanism, which is referred to, as I mentioned, which could be a ranking mechanism, which could be tournament selection, which could be rule-level selection mechanism. Rule-level selection I'll explain maybe today. If anybody has a doubt on that, or maybe in a couple of further lectures, it will come automatically. So this one, we found the fitness of every individual or fitness of the population. Then we do the
Anand
crossover. Yes.
there is one question in the chat box.
Oh, really? Oh, sorry, I didn't notice. How we decide the mutation? Is it done randomly on bit? Fitness function is always same as objective function. Okay. Sorry, I didn't see that. Okay, so how we decide the mutation? Is it done randomly on any bit? Yes, it is done randomly. However, mutation is not done in every generation. It is what we generally do is that after certain number of generation, we generate, or after some number of generations of GA, we generate a random number. And that random number, based on that random number, we decide only for one bit. So maybe if suppose we have a population of 100, then maybe only 2 or 3 individuals are considered for mutation, and it is generally done for only one bit. Okay, that is one thing, because too many mutation may create a problem. For example, if we consider that or we can say that too much mutation in real life also, if a chromosome, if 2 individuals come together and they have the somebody has too much of mutation, it means that the infant may go worse. Okay, we have seen the infants with disorders and all, they generally are the result of too much of mutation. Okay, at the gene level. So too much of mutation is not good. Little mutation helps in getting better. One more real world example is that you have seen the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, as well as the disaster at the Fukushima, the Japan, where there was a lot of radiation. Now that radiation not only affects the body, it affects at the DNA level. And if someone who is affected with the radiation, whose DNA is already damaged, which means it is already mutated, if he or she meets with another male or female, and then the new infant will come up with some more disorders. Okay, so little mutation is always advisable, but then after certain number of generations, we do the mutation. Okay, that is one thing. Fitness function is always same as objective function? No. Fitness function is generally root mean square of the entire values of all the population. That is one thing. Second thing, some people consider as average, because they want to show the population to grow from one level to the best level. In my research, I generally consider in 2 levels. One is the objective function value. I consider that all of the objective functions values go at the best level, but generally people do as a root mean square or the average of the entire population. I believe the average is the best fitness function for any problem. Okay, so average, you can see over here, the average of entire population is growing. It means that the population itself is evolving very well. Okay, root mean square shows that how all of them are going better, or some of them are kind of outliers. Okay, however, I believe that the average is better fitness function as compared to others. So you can see over here, this is the initialized population, and the fitness is 293. We did the crossover, the fitness increased. If you consider as the average, then it increased to 439. It means that the population has become better. If I did little mutation, that reached to 588.5. So it is still become better. Okay. So I hope I have answered the questions by both the questions by Prof. Garg. Yeah. Thanks, Prof. Garg. Thanks. Okay. So just to summarize before we move towards the next example.
Sir, how to terminate them?
Sorry.
How to terminate the process?
Okay. Generally, what happens is that most of them, they become the same. Okay. So maybe they become like suppose 600 is the best solution. Suppose. Then all of them, they reach to 600 level. So all population becomes the same. So there's no evolution anymore. They have nothing to learn from one another. They have nothing to achieve from one another. So they remain the same. So that is the termination criteria. Yeah. Did I answer your question? Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Yes.
In some of the cases, sometimes people have said, some of the researchers, they this fitness value, which all the objective function, all the individuals remain the same. That is one thing. Second thing is that maximum number of generations, maybe 1,000 generations. Okay, but then at that time, the number 1,000 is chosen in such a way that most of the individuals in the population achieve a certain level, and there is not much change. Okay, so that way where we can stop. Now, just to summarize, we generate the initial population from within the allowable limit. We convert it to bit level encoding to chromosome. We have the fitness function. We have the probabilities. Then we do the crossover. So we make the chromosomes or individual meet with one another. Okay. Once the meeting is done, we see what is the objective function value or the fitness value. We proceed, and we again go towards to the same one, and then we do again the mating. The selections between one another. Then we do mating, and we keep going. After certain generations, we are allowed to do the mutation, because mutation always helps for the solution to jump out of the local minima, and then we can have better and better generations, better and better solutions after each and every generation. Okay, so this is one of the very simple illustrations with one variable. Okay, moving towards the next second example, we will have 3 examples we will go through. Second example is a little bit simpler. Okay, or we can say which is not a real world example, but then you can say that this is good for you to understand how GA works. Okay, I can tell you that GA is applied to almost entire or 99% of the problems. GA can be applied. So that is why GA is quite popular. Anyway, there's one problem which is referred to as Max1. Okay, Max1 is basically a test problem, a representative problem. So it does not carry much value as in terms of real world case. However, to understand certain algorithms, this Max1 example is quite popularly used. Okay, I believe computer science and computer engineering people, they already know about this. So maybe ENTC people also know this example, but I'll just explain this again in terms of GA. So what it shows that you generate a string, and you have a goal that in every string, suppose you generate say 10 strings. Okay, and for every string you may have certain number of ones and zeros. And now you have to devise a mechanism by which the number of ones will increase, or maybe your number of zeros also. It's all up to you. Okay, but then in this case, Max1 is an example that we have considered. So what I consider is that I have tossed the coin 60 times. Okay, and then all of that 60 values I have converted to first 10 as one string, second 10 as the next 10 as the second string, and so on. So we have 6 strings so far. Okay, so in S1 we have 7 ones. For S2, for string 2, we have 5 ones. Third string we have 7, and so on till S6 string, and then we just make it total to that comes to be 34. Now our objective is to maximize the number of ones. Okay, so that is why this is an objective function. But now I'll tell you that we don't have to really care about this at this kind of problems. That is why I mentioned earlier yesterday also that objective function is required, but then we do not actually really work on this kind of things. We can have just understanding of the problem, and we can solve it. Now I plotted this as a wheel. Okay, And this is a kind of I consider as a roulette wheel. Okay, roulette wheel. I hope you people understand roulette wheel. Those who have seen gambling on TV and all, they have a wheel, and there is a tycoon, a lot of money, and maybe 5 6 tycoons are there. Everybody says, okay, number 5, number 6, number 8, whatever, and then the roll the wheel is rotated, and then somebody throws a marble, and then if the marble goes to that particular number, somebody wins. Okay, so this is something which is modeled over here. Now what we do is that we have this population already generated. What we did, based on 7 by 34, we have given this much stack to the candidate, to the individual number 1. Then 5 by 34, we have given 14.7 stack. 7 by 34, this much, and 4 by 34, 8 by 34, and 3 by 34. Okay, so this is the stack on my wheel for every individual. Okay, now you can see that this one has 20.58. I added 14.70, that comes to be 35.28. This both added 20.50, that comes to be 55.86. This added 11.76, that comes to be 67.62. It is added by 23.52, that comes to be 91.14, and then added, and then we reach to 100. Okay, so every individual has a stack in the roulette wheel that added up to 100. Okay, now what I did, I generated, this is what the selection mechanism works, which we did here also. But what we did here, we generated a random number. Okay, so first random number, which is from within 1 to 100, both inclusive. So what we did, the first random number comes to be 15.228. Okay, so that is this number is falling within 0 to 20.58. So that is why we consider the individual number 1. Okay, then the next number comes to be 41.80, and then we chosen the value to be number 3, S3, because this 41.80 is between 35.28 to 55.86. Okay, again we generated a random number between 1 to 0, that comes to be 70.99. Okay, that is somewhere here. That is why we consider S5. Okay, similarly we generated a random number which is 22.22, and then we have chosen the S2. 65.62, we chosen S4, and for random number 91, we have chosen S5. Okay, so you can see over here the worst solution was 3, S6, which is naturally not chosen because it is not fit as compared to others. Okay, so that is what the natural selection is all about. All the population keeps competing with one another. The better ones, they win or they carry forward for reproduction. Those who do not have that much capability, they die out. They cannot reproduce their individuals. Okay, this is what the mechanism is all about. Now in this case, we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 solutions. However, in that case, S5 is already repeated because they chosen more times. But then what we did, we have chosen 2 randomly, S1 and S3. We did the crossover between them. 110 and 101 are exchanged, and we come up with S1 prime, S3 prime. S4 and S5, they are chosen for mating, and then we come up with new population which is done after the mating. That comes to be S4 prime and S5 prime. Okay, now once we converted them, we just for evaluation, we converted them. Earlier we have the 778548. Now we have 778557. Okay, for just to show over here, we did little mutation. Okay, this is a lot of mutation, by the way, but I just wanted to show you. So mutation is done. So this one is converted to 0. So S1 prime become actually worse. This is done. The mutation is remain the same. This becomes 8 to 8. And this 7 becomes 6. So you can see that after mutation over here, even though we have done the mutation, but the solution quality little bit gone worse as compared to whatever after crossover. However, in total, the solution quality increased by 9%. Earlier, if you consider the sum as a fitness, then it was 34. Now, after the crossover and mutation, it's reached to 37. Okay, so we can see it is evident in just one generation, the solution quality improved from 34 to 37. So number of ones in together were 34 earlier, now they have improved by 3, reactimers to 37. Our goal is to make all of them as one. Okay, so all this, we know the fitness value, the best fitness value for this is 60. Okay, so if you can run this again, this can be done in Excel, very simple way, and you can work on it. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll move to the next example, which is of two variables. Okay, so what we consider, yeah. Anybody have a question?
Sir, how to select the crossover point?
Okay, so see, so these crossover points generally it is the 20% or 30% of the entire chromosome size. Okay, but then which point to select, that depends on our judgment. So in this case, we have 10. Okay, so I have considered just 30%, but then which point to consider, whether consider this 30% or maybe this or maybe whatever, it depends on our experience. It depends on our experience. Yeah. So this is basically we need some kind of thinking on that side, or maybe we can have some sort of initial trials for it. Yeah. Okay, is that okay? Did I satisfy your question?
S5 prime values are different in this case.
Oh, sorry.
S5 prime has different values here after crossover.
Here, right?
Below that, yeah. Below that, S5 prime twice you have written, third and last one, 6. These are 7 ones and above one is 8 ones. Although it is S5 prime.
S5 prime no,
these are 7 ones.
Yeah, 7. Yeah.
And above one S5 prime, it is S5 prime and it has 8 ones.
Oh, sorry. It was a mistake. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry for that. Thanks for correcting me.
Okay.
I'll save it. Yes. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. So any other correction or any other? Maybe I'll correct here also later. I'll send it to you.
It was not for correction, sir. I was confused.
No, it is very much required. Yes. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because even though I keep doing it, I keep explaining. There's some typo remain, and it is better now. Yes. Thanks. Okay, so should I move ahead? Somebody has raised hand. Please ask the question.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Sir, can we apply genetic algorithm for feature selection?
You mean the for the machine learning, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. So for optimum feature selection, how many to select and all these, people have already applied GA. People already applied, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. If I find some papers, I'll email to you. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Great, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Okay, so I move ahead to the last problem. Okay, so in this case, okay, for the first one we have only one variable. For the second, we really didn't had we didn't consider much about the objective function, but then we knew that how to solve this problem. So we did not actually care about this here, but we knew how to deal with this, and we started working on it. However, we may have a problem which has more number of variables. Okay, right now, if we have 3 number of variables, it becomes more and more complex. Okay, so right now I'll just show you with the 2 variables. Just consider a problem. I just took it from online and I just tried to solve it. So this is the maximization problem. If it is minimization problem, then you just make it to minus or all minus, okay, and then you maximize it. Anyway, so we have two variables, x1 square, and the objective function is x1 square plus x2 square minus 5.13, and x1 and x2 can be chosen from within interval 0 to 15. Okay, so these are the steps that we generally follow. Now in this case, the chromosome has to be concatenation of two variable chromosomes, two variable bits. Okay, it means two variable, the every variable is converted into a chromosome, and then we have to concatenate to make it to the solution. Okay, now x1 we just chosen a random value which is to be 9. Okay, and then x2 just chosen random value 13. Both are from within 0 to 15, and then we come up with a chromosome. This is the solution basically, which is just concatenation of both. Okay, so 1001 is over here, and 1101 that comes to be 1101 here. Okay, so this is a chromosome for the entire problem. Okay, so likewise I did the sampling from within 0 to 15 for all x1 and x2. So in this case, I believe I have 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 I believe. I think 11 or something. Okay. Anyway, so this is the population that I have. All x1 and x2 values are chosen from within 0 to 15. They have been encoded. Okay. Their fitness values are found. So these are the ones, 13 and 10. When I key in here, I got the f of x value to be 0.031 and so on. Okay. Likewise, 7 and 11, I key in here, I got the f of x value that comes to be 0.0058. Likewise, I found the probability values also. Now, when I converted or when I plotted all of them to a roulette wheel, that comes to be like this. Okay. Now I can see that this a single solution has a very high stake. Okay, which is something 3-1. Okay, which is very high stake. So this is the most promising solution, and this solution is supposed to meet with several others. Okay, to get the better population. Okay. Now I have taken all of them to be here. Okay. So before selection, these were the values, and when I started doing as in the earlier case, here, likewise, generating random numbers from within 1 to 100. I have considered this part, and I have done the selection. Okay, but using the random numbers, and I can see that this is the best solution, which has having the stake 66% is chosen the maximum times. Okay, because this is the elite solution. There is a concept like elitism in GA, which I haven't covered here, but maybe once you start reading about GA, you will be able to understand elitism. In this case, elitism is taken care automatically, because elitism is nothing but a solution which is far better than the other solutions are taken ahead for every generation. Okay, so this is what is elitism taken care here. The best solution is taken for the further generations. Okay, so there are some other solutions also selected, but then most of the times this solution is selected. Okay, now this solution has meeting with others, and we come up with a new stack of solutions or after crossover. Once we convert them into the real values, those come to be this crossover we convert to real values, or we decode it to real values. That comes to be 3-1, 3-1, 15, and all this, and fitness value is somewhere here. Now you can see that the fitness values are much better. As I have to make it a little bit smaller. Sorry about it. The fitness values over here, these values and these values. You can see that the real difference is that these values are much better than these values. Okay, so I can see, or it is evident, that the entire population has certain level, but now after mating with one another, after after crossover, we have reached to a much better solution. Okay, then just to showcase that these are the values. Okay, these are the values having the variable values in real. The real numbers are 3-1, 3-1, and so on. We did little mutation. Okay, so this 1 and 1, this 0 and 0 are converted to 1 and 1. Okay, and we can see that the variable values comes to be 3939, and you can see that the fitness value also gone a little bit worse, but then entire population itself is doing very well. Okay, so this is what GA works for the two variables. Just to come up, just to explain again, when we have only one variable, we have just the chromosome for that one variable only. However, we have more number of variables, the chromosome size starts increasing. This is one of the what we can say a beauty of GA. But then, as the number of variables keep increasing, the chromosome size keeps increasing. So that becomes a limitation after certain number of variables. That is why GA is more useful when we have discrete number of variables. Okay, we have little choices only. Okay. Anyway, so this is what this is what the population we generated. We encoded. We found the fitness value, which is already given here, and then the probability value. Okay. Then we converted that. We do the selection, and through the selection, the elitist solutions are taken ahead for mating. They do the. You can see that solutions are improved, which is evident using the fitness function. If you do the mutation, maybe once or twice they become better, or for some cases they become worse. However, just to give you the beauty of mutation is that even though the solutions become worse, they help the entire population to jump out of the local minimum solution. Okay, or the local solutions. So that is the beauty of GA if we consider to the entirety. Now I haven't considered this. I haven't worked on this because this is what is the population now, and this is what I have carry forwarded. Now what we have to do now is that we have to come up with selection criteria. That is what the generation of the random numbers. Plot this again, and then come up with the new population or for the mating. We do the crossover same as this. Generate the fitness function and as well as the variable values. If we want to do the mutation, we do it. Else leave it. Come up with the new variable values. Do the fitness function calculation again. Again do the same thing. After a few generations, you may have a stopping criteria as maximum number of generations, maybe 500 or 1000 or even that depends on your problem. However, the legal stopping criteria should be, or it should be something like the entire population becomes almost the same. So there is no much change. There is nothing, even though they meet with one another, nothing happens because they are the same. Okay. So this is way the GA works. So anybody has question for this GA session? Because I'm done with the talk for GA. Tomorrow we will have particle swarm optimization. But if you have any questions, just ask me whatever you want.
All the participants are requested to have a questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, Karuna madam.
So that means, thank you, sir. Sir, GA, can we say that if the number of variables are more, as you said,
Yes.
it is restriction for a GA to the number of variables.
No, it's not. I'm not saying a restriction, but as I said that if we are considering this is because the GA I explained is a very basic GA, basic framework. Okay, and if we have to solve the problems with a large number of variables, then we have to come with something like a smarter approach for GA only, but with little smarter approach. Otherwise, the method itself is very strong.
So not getting other method.
No, other methods in the sense that smarter methods, or you can say heuristics. See, what I showed right now in GA, it is a very basic framework of GA. Okay, I haven't played with GA mechanism anymore. I would just try to teach you something which is very basic. Okay, but then if we have to deal with more complex problems, okay, or we can say with larger number of variables, like maybe more than 100,000 variables. In that case, we have to devise certain heuristic methods, okay, which to incorporate in GA. For example, now thanks you asked me this question. For the crossover mechanism that we have shown, which was just one point, a single point crossover. Okay, at one point we just do crossover. However, for the discrete problems with more than for the traveling salesman problem kind of thing, they use cyclic crossover. So they do crossover once, then do another crossover, and then the third crossover. Okay, so likewise, there are some modifications required to be done based on the problem itself. This is what I wanted to say.
I hope madam got the answer.
Fine, sir.
Did I answer your question? I don't think you're satisfied, but then I'll try to I'll give one more try. Okay, I didn't mean that we cannot solve we cannot deal with the larger number of variables. Okay, why I'm trying to tell you is that if we are dealing with this very basic framework of GA, okay, then larger number of variables handling is little bit difficult. Difficult in the sense computationally expensive. It may take a few minutes to solve the problem. But then there are certain mechanisms which have to be incorporated in GA if we are dealing with the larger number of variables, so that we don't have to really play with entire population. So if the population is just say 500 and the problem is complex, then we play with only 20 of them in one generation. The next generation we only play with 20, and so on. So there's no limit for that.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Got it.
Anand sir, there is one question from the Harshita Chaurasia ma'am. Is there any example of real world using genetic algorithm?
Oh yes. There are thousands of examples, but then I give you one example which is based on vehicle routing problem. Okay, vehicle routing problem. For example, which I mentioned, which I talked yesterday, is that we suppose because I happened to attend one conference in Montreal back in 2014. So in that one, this problem was presented. It touched my heart very, not only to me, for everyone. It was there was a professor from Bogota. He came to present his work. So that one was for a vehicle routing problem with time window. So in that case, the bus routes. Okay, so the bus routes were arranged in such a way that suppose there are 20 bus stops, okay, in the entire city. Then the bus is supposed to reach, suppose, at one stop at 7 a.m. and second to the next, the succeeding stop, say 7:15, then 7:30, so on, suppose. Okay, then in that case, the time window to reach the particular stop was supposed to be just 3 minutes. Okay, so likewise, GA was applied for this kind of routing. So there you can see the routes are too many. So the solutions are too many. But then GA was the one who found the best possible speed of the vehicle, best possible route for the vehicle, best possible lane for the vehicle. Okay, so that way GA was applied, and that is why BRT, bus rapid transit, I believe, it is much more successful in entire world in Bogota, because they, for planning and all, they applied genetic algorithms there. This is what the real application I can. That was much appreciable during that conference. So what happens in crossover exactly? Okay, so what happens in crossover is that it is basically exchanging the characteristics of one another. Okay, so if one solution is 9 and second is 13, okay, then in crossover 9 and 13 both are supposed to be equal and even better. Okay, so this is basically a metaphorical representation of gene exchange between the two once they meet. So what happens is that when parents come together, and then both chromosomes come together, and the better parts only taken further for the infant. So this is what metaphorically trying to show in crossover. So in crossover, what happens is that real numbers are converted to the bits, and then the bits are exchanged in hope to have a better solution. This is what happens with the crossover. Thanks, Prof. Dev Kaukar. Yeah. So Rita Tripathi is asking, GA can be used for malware detection. I believe so, but I may not be the right person to answer this question because I know nothing about malware. So I'm sorry for this one. I don't know really about malware. Even how GA can be used for malware detection and all. Little bit difficult for me to answer this question.
Sir, what about the complexity of this GA?
Oh, see, GA complexity, calculation complexity is quite less as compared to others, is because we have only crossover and mutation involved. Okay, so these are the only ones involved. That is why the calculation complexity of GA is quite less. That is why it is more versatile. However, if we consider the algorithms like particle swarm optimization and all, we have so many function evaluations. In GA, we have function evaluations, but the complexity of the calculation is quite less as compared to others. Quite less.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is why with the 486 computers also GA work very well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, participant, any more questions?
Anything else?
I do have one more question, sir.
Yes, Amit. Yes.
Sir, ANN and RNNs are the basis of genetic algorithm itself, right?
Why do you think so?
Because they evolved from that itself.
See, ANN and RNN, or you can say just the artificial neural networks.
Right.
Okay. So those are basically for representation of the learning of the brain.
Right.
Okay. But then GA is for evolution of the society.
Okay.
or individuals.
Right.
So ANN has what ANN has is a network of neurons. Yeah, and then we have connections. Okay.
Right.
So neurons has transfer functions.
Right.
They convert the signal or convert the solutions.
Definitely.
But then training of the entire ANN, when we say is trained, is when we optimize the weights. Okay. But then optimization of weights can be done using GA. Or maybe the gradient descent. During my masters, I applied GA there. Right. So yeah, so you can say GA and ANN can go hand in hand.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks. Any more question?
I hope there are no more questions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Somebody corrected me for this MS Word typo. So I don't know who did it, but I am thankful to him. And okay, Amit.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Today we have learned about the evaluation and adoption of the genetic algorithm. Sir have given the genetic algorithm fitness functions, inheritance, how the selection process, crossover, mutations can be done in the genetic algorithm. Sir, it explains with the three examples, and we hope all the participants got the answers, those who have been asking. Tomorrow we have the particle swarm optimization algorithms. Dr. Apurva Shastri will be the speaker for this. She is the research assistant professor of MIT WPU Pune. I thank today for the Anand Kulkarni sir for their session. It was very nice session, sir, and I hope all the participants take the benefit of this particular session. Thank you.
Thanks, Amit. Thanks.
Thank you.
So yeah. So should we log off?
Share in your chat box.
Okay. Thanks, Amit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.